He no longer believes, or at least it's not satisfied in his mind, that the person Jesus is really that person. I want you to know that this is the same John who was so bold preaching concerning Jesus Christ. Do you remember it was John who was preaching there as he was baptizing, saying that there's one going to come after me? That is Jesus Christ. He is the one that is coming. Listen, I baptize you in water, but He's coming to baptize you in the Spirit, and I'm not even worthy to loose His shoes. We find John preaching that, and now he's gotten into this prison where he's looked at his life, and he's began to try to make sense of everything in his mind, and he's clamped down in this prison, and he begins to have this doubt, and he even begins not only to doubt who he is and what he's preached, but he even doubts the person Jesus Christ. For he asked that question, are you the one? Are you the one, really, Jesus? Are you the one that I've been preaching about? Are you the one when I was talking about one coming that I could not even loose the shoes? Are you He, that one? Or do I need to look for somebody else? I've heard the noise in the town. It has gotten back to me in the prison, but I need to know I've got some doubt within my life. There was a time, I believe, when there was no doubt in John's mind. Do you see how quickly things have changed? There was a time when there was no doubt in John's mind, but when he was thrown into this prison, something happened. He began to doubt. When the situation of his life changed, when the circumstance in life changed. Oh, how many times are we a good Christian when things are good? But when things began to fall apart, we began to even deny the person of Jesus Christ, and we began to have our doubts, and we began to have our fears. See, I believe that doubt is the absence of faith. I really do. Doubt is the absence of faith, because faith will move us beyond doubts and say that God is above all things. But John is sitting there and he is doubting in this prison. Now, I want you to notice, not only is he doubting, but he begins to discover some things while he's in this prison. He discovers that absence doesn't make the heart grow fonder. I want you to get this. In other words, to be away from Jesus Christ doesn't draw him to Jesus Christ. It doesn't make him fonder of Christ. To be absent from Jesus Christ really is driving a wedge in his life. In verse 2, he says, now, he heard in the prison the works of Christ. And so he's away from Jesus Christ. All he's done is heard what is going on. And so instead of growing closer to Jesus Christ, he's actually began to move away from Christ. How do I know that? Well, listen, John is locked up. He can no longer see the miracles that are taking place. He hears about it, but he cannot see them. He cannot any longer see the blind eyes that are being opened. Oh, he hears about them. He hears about the healing. He hears about how Christ is ministering to people, but he cannot see that. He can no longer hear the Lord's voice as he preaches and as he teaches to those that are there. He's just kind of locked away, and so he's kind of removed from all the work that is going on. John is removed from the sights and the sound of the ministry of Jesus, and his heart has now become clouded with doubts. His heart now becomes clouded with questions that are within his mind. See, when we begin to get away from God, the doubts begin to move in. When we get away from God and we no longer see the image of God or the work of God, we get so far away that we no longer can hear His voice. We begin to doubt, is Christ really who He says that He is? Can He really solve my problems? In the depths of where I am, is Christ going to be here today? So we find then that there's doubt in this prison, and when the prison of life has hold of you, it's very easy for us to doubt, but not only doubt in the prison, there's some discoveries that he finds out. He finds out that he's not close to God and not close to Christ, and he can't hear Christ, and so he begins to wonder if Christ is really who he is. And then what John done in the prison, we find out that he begins to do some things in the prison. When doubt arises in John's heart, he does the right thing. He does what many of us need to learn to do, and that is to go to Jesus and ask Jesus the question. to find the answer from Jesus Christ, not to let the doubt stay within his heart and let doubt overtake him and overcome him. He needs to replace the doubt. He needs the persuasion of Jesus Christ. And so, listen, he doesn't ask the people out on the street. That's not who he asks. He doesn't ask the people that Christ has performed miracles on. Oh no, he calls his disciples and says, go to Jesus Christ. Go to Christ and ask him that question. Verse 2, now when John had heard in the prison the works of Christ, he sent 2 of his disciples and said unto him, art thou he that should come and do, or do we look for another? Send him straight to Jesus Christ. Instead of worrying and wondering in that prison, John turned his effort toward getting an answer, and to get an answer from Jesus Christ. Oh, how many sleepless nights we have spent, but if we would have just turned to Jesus Christ. Oh, and all the doubts and the what ifs and the buts and this and that, but this can happen and that can go wrong. If we would have just ran to Jesus Christ for the answer, that is where our help will be found in times of trouble. Doesn't matter what the trouble is. I know the answer, see. I don't have to know what the question is. I always know what the answer is. Doesn't matter the question, the answer is always going to be Jesus Christ. Always Christ. And so John is sitting there and the doubts now has come in. Maybe you're facing doubts within your life. He begins to discover that, hey, I'm way far away from Jesus Christ. And I'm not growing fonder, I'm just growing in more doubt. So I need to do something. And so I'll send my disciples and let them go to Jesus Christ. Now, why did John doubt? Why would a man that has preached the gospel, why did John doubt at this time? What would be some of the reasons that we could come up with that John doubted at this time? Well, I believe one of those is discouragement. Oh Lord, how many times do we get discouraged in our lives? And when we get discouraged, it's very easy to begin to doubt. This confinement in a situation that he could not change, he was at the hands of someone else, caused him to entertain the doubts that normally would not have even received a moment's thought. But now you see he's discouraged. Oh, here I am in prison. Does the Lord not care? Listen, I'm in prison and I don't know where he's at. I've just heard some things, but I need to know, Lord, are you the one? Oh, how the discouragement comes in our lives. And when the discouragement hits, we begin to doubt. We focus on the discouragement instead of focusing on Jesus Christ. Well, I would say that not only was there discouragement, but I believe there was some disappointment in John's life. Man, I've been preaching the gospel and look where I'm at. Man, I'm so disappointed. Has there been times in your life when you've been disappointed? Have there been times in your life when you've been like Paul? Paul said, the things that I don't want to do, those are the things that I do. Man, I'm just disappointed in the life that I live. I'm just disappointed in the things that I've done. Listen, Jesus could do anything. John had preached that. Listen, he's the one that's coming. I'm not even worthy to undo his shoe. He can do all things. And yet, surely he would have come and set me free. I am a man that is preaching the gospel and he's left me here in my prison and he hasn't come to set me free. Isn't that what the Messiah was supposed to do, is to set people free? Is that not what he is called to do? Ain't that one of the ministries of Jesus Christ, to go to the sick and those that are in prison? Isn't that what he's supposed to do? So he's discouraged. He's disappointed. And then we see the disillusionment of him. See, he was waiting for the day when somebody would come to him and say, you know what, John? Jesus is the Messiah. He not only heals the sick, he not only raises the dead and calls the blind to see, but he's about to attack Rome. Oh, he's about to set up a kingdom. John, like many of the others, was waiting for Jesus to come and to rescue them. And so they would no longer be under the power and the authority of Rome. All the Jews were going to be set free finally. And he was disillusioned. Like many of the other disciples who thought Jesus was coming to set up a kingdom on earth, not a kingdom in heaven. And so John now is full of doubts, sitting in the prison. What about you? What prison holds you tonight? What is it that's within your heart that has brought doubt within your heart and within your mind? What is the circumstance or the situation around you